Yes, what?
Well, we just got done watching the very first episode of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, and we're here today to give some of our thoughts, concerns, theories, and just right up top, everyone, this is a major spoiler warning. This is a
Huge
huge spoilers. Look at
every spoiler.
Chris over there. He just can't,
Spoilers.
He can't contain himself.
I have spoken.
Yes, and so welcome everyone. My name is Paul. Everyone want to go? I work over in marketing. I'm going to do my best to wrangle this and host this for everyone. Everyone want to go by and say who they are, what they do?
Yeah, I suppose we could do that. Yeah, I'm Andrew, and I'm a writer. Yeah, yeah, I'm a writer.
Cool.
You know.
I'm Mel, and I coordinate stuff.
Oh,
And I'm Chris, and I assist the marketing team.
Okay.
Yeah.
here are the. So do we want to go off just like right on top here and say?
Let's get right into it. Well, I guess we
where
should.
are we first?
Yeah,
let's give everyone a
level-wise.
heads up as to like where we are as like Star
Like
Wars
emotionally?
fans.
Oh,
no, where we
okay,
are.
all right,
So I'm
yeah.
I would call myself like a novice. I'm doing my very best to get into the Star Wars verse now with Disney Plus. That's going to be incredibly. It's going to be a lot easier than it's ever really been. I know we've talked a lot about like
Yeah.
how we were just talking before this like how we should watch this. Where would you rank yourself on that?
Oh man, so I wasn't into Star Wars for a really long time,
Right.
But then starting to work here and researching it a bunch, I've gotten really into like the weird, more obscure lore of Star
Yeah,
Wars.
it's kind of hard not to be a Star Wars fan here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kinda hard.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would place myself on the moderate level. Like, I've seen all the things, but Clone Wars is really where my love for it started. But I sit next to Chris now, so I feel like that level of knowledge is going to increase.
Honestly, like this
exponentially.
is the first time I've ever seen something Star Wars. So I'm just kidding. No, I'm a diehard Star Wars fan.
Yes.
I'm like right up there, top,
Yeah.
the hardcore fan. But I love anything Star Wars. Just like I consume anything and everything Star Wars.
Yes.
I love it all.
Can I actually tell you how much of a fan he is? One time I asked him what his favorite movie was. He didn't think of Star Wars at all.
No,
and I,
yeah.
And I asked him about Star Wars. He's like, that's not a movie. That's my life.
Yeah, like Star Wars is life. Like I had to think of other movies that like I loved watching other than Star Wars.
It's not
like
a movie.
Because like
Rogue
that
One, I
that is a passion in a way of life.
Star Wars movie? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay, I mean, can we just get right
Let's
into
get
it
right
up
into it.
top? I mean, so some of us were more prepared than others, I would say.
I have,
Some of us.
So
took,
Andrew
took
there
notes here.
was taking notes and watching The
Frantically. I was
Mandalorian.
taking notes frantically.
Yes, spoilers.
Yeah,
We have
Again,
spoilers.
right up
We
top.
have spoken.
Spoilers. We
These
have
notes
spoken.
have spoilers in
Yes.
them. And yeah.
Yeah,
we're
he
like,
good luck
was
reading his
like
writing.
every
He was, like,
minute he was frantically writing,
like
and I'm
he's
sitting
ready
next
to
to him and
catch
he's
a
just
train or
looking
this
something.
right
up and
here is
down.
the
like,
biggest spoiler. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the biggest one.
No, don't.
We'll get there.
yeah, we'll
That's
get
at the end.
we got to do it scene by scene now. We got to go through
pretty
it.
much. Okay, so I think that you can do it scene by scene, but like mostly with the opening.
Yeah.
Like the opening is the most important part of the entire series, the entire world for me, because in my mind it'll be bookended by some end that like there's a story circle that a whole lot of writers use, especially like Dan Harmon for Rick and Morty and stuff. You always have to bring it back to where you started in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out where they were in the beginning, and it opens up with him, the Mandalorian, tracking. Like he's got his little what is it called?
The fob.
The fob.
Yeah, yeah, the fob, yeah,
He's got the
tracking
little
fob.
he's got the little fob and he's tracking. And then it totally cuts away from him and they're in a bar and they're not speaking English. And I thought that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys picked up on it as well. When he's walking through that little cantina there, like you can hear the spurs on his boots. Yeah, almost like the Western.
way.
I didn't
And
even-
in Empire Strikes Back, the Boba Fett
Right.
actually had spurs on his boots.
Okay.
And so I thought that was a very nice nod to that there. But then again, like they're doing the Mandalorian as sort of a Western. So for him to walk in like a saloon, if you will,
Yeah,
and he's
exactly.
got spurs on his boots.
Somebody
Yeah.
was saying that it's like a Western times 10, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it's-
yeah, no,
yeah,
it's
this is
like
definitely played
space
out like a
western, you know.
Western
It's like
film.
gritty, you know, very like earth. You can see all the earth tones going on in that.
Yeah, it was
on that
so
series.
cool.
The score was also kind of
And-
westerny.
yeah.
Like, it
Yeah,
had
yeah.
that
And that's what I was gonna say. Like
It was like
even
what?
the
One more
score,
time?
Nope.
Okay.
even the score itself felt new. It felt like it was because this was not John Williams.
No,
right?
no, I haven't.
I think it did itself. I think the show, like even in the opening scenes, did itself very well in kind of separating it. Like just the weird instruments they were using. Like they didn't sound like normal human instruments. Like everything in and of itself, it kind of like it, regardless whether you liked it or not, it brings you into the world. Just because you're forced to like listen to audibly the soundtrack itself. And you were talking about the score and how it's pretty. It seemed pretty new. I mean,
There's a couple bars here and there where you get kind of the old John Williams Star Wars score flavor, but it does definitely separate itself from Star Wars proper, if you will.
Okay.
But I think that's fun because this is kind of, I think, a standalone thing.
Yeah.
You can be super familiar with Star Wars and really, really into it and watch it and love it. But I also think you can be a mild fan or not a fan at all and start with this to kind of build your love of the franchise.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the Mando himself?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a very bold, very bold.
He has that
entrance.
like deep voice, that like mysterious deep voice, and it's like.
And like, I mean, so I know there's a ton of Mandalorian lore that's out there. Like, this is not the first, obviously. You've heard of the Mandalorian by any means, but it does kind of feel like this is the most like FaceTime we've gotten with the Mandalorian in and of their like everyday life.
Right.
And so I think
especially from a live action perspective, because
exactly.
the Clone Wars definitely dives into a lot of the backstory of their culture and canonically and stuff like that. So, and Dave Filoni, who was the director of this first episode, did a lot of work on the Clone Wars series. So I think he's the right person to helm a Mandalorian themed show because he's already familiar, not only working with George Lucas,
right,
who was essentially, I mean, Dave Filoni and George Lucas were like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau of The Mandalorian. Yeah. So, and
the first exposure to any Mandalorian anything.
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah.
I knew, like, the closest I knew to Mandalorian was like, oh, he kind of looks like Boba Fett.
Yeah,
like that's
well,
what that's like my
a lot of Star Wars
novice.
fans. I think we're waiting for a lot more Mandalorian stuff on a live action presence,
right?
Not from what we were used to seeing on Clone Wars. But I think this is a good start, and it's pretty exciting to know where it's going to go.
I like it because you saw a lot of Mandalorian culture and lore with Rebels too, because of Sabine, but this is a whole different side of it. Because Sabine wasn't really living the Mandalorian / bounty hunter life. She had been exiled, and so you get to see a little more of that culture and that lore, and it's an interesting culture.
Right.
I mean, I thought it was even interesting. You kind of brought up with the lore of it all. I thought it was really interesting. Obviously, if you've watched any of the TV promos or anything, you've seen the scene that's the opening when he slides the beer across or whatever he's drinking, and he grabs it, and then he just
all hell breaks loose.
All hell breaks loose.
It's the other patrons with it.
Exactly, yeah. And he said something that I kind of focused on a little too much, and I had to circle down. He said oh, that's real. Is it Beskar?
No. Beskar. Beskar steel.
He's like, that's real
Beskar
steel,
yeah.
Right? And so, we can kind of get into later in the episode, that's apparently more relevant than I think I immediately thought just when he drags that knife across him there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, is Beskar a planet? Is it a...
I can't remember exactly, but I know, it's, from what I know, it's just the type of... It's, stronger. It's, one of the strongest metals in the Star Wars universe because it's able to withstand most blaster fire and
it's like Star Wars vibranium.
Exactly. Yeah, I was actually just thinking that.
Star Wars vibranium.
Yeah,
I think it's also pretty particular. It's used in Mandalorian armor.
Yeah,
I think that's a very pivotal thing that
that's what they're known for is their Beskar steel armor.
Yeah, what I kind of took from that, I didn't go vibranium. I went Valyrian steel, like Game of Thrones. Where only people who can carry this particular type of steel, you can't just go buy it. So it has to be earned. And so to see him, I believe he's kind of covered in it, right? His chest plate,
right?
His left shoulder plate was not.
It looks like he's slowly building.
That's my thought too. It's as he's doing his bounties, he's acquiring money to to build up his armor, and also getting like the Beskar steel to. And I noticed on his right shoulder pauldron, it looked like it was part of like a shore trooper or something like that because of like the tan and blue.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of the rumor was, is that like, oh, where did he get that pauldron from? But of course we only see it for just a moment until he gets his new pauldron.
And then it's gone. Yeah.
But I thought that was, I'm not sure if that was like the intention behind that, but I thought that was kind of cool in that regard.
Okay, can I ask you guys a question?
Maybe.
Okay, all right.
see.
I'm gonna try it. You guys let me know.
You're doing
You
good.
kind of brought it up like a little bit. You were like, oh, he's going around trying to get more Beskar steel and everything. What do you guys think that he wants? Because that's like the super important thing that I tried to track from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah,
and I
that's
always
a
try and
good
listen
point.
to like the first sentence that this person ever says, which was,
Oh, okay, here we go.
Consult my
Yeah.
notes.
This guy. Jeez.
I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. That's the first thing he
and
said.
then
He
it
like
cuts to the title.
Yeah.
Like right
Yeah,
after
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I thought that was the most important part. Like that kind of set the precedent for me. Was like, I can bring you in warmer. Like it doesn't matter to him. Like he just
Yeah.
saved this guy who's his bounty.
Yeah.
Technically. And then he's like, oh, I have credits. I can give you these. And he's like, I'm good. Like
I'm good.
Because
Yeah.
it's warm or cold. And
See,
it
that's
doesn't
the
matter to
thing.
him.
That's why I don't think that he's like necessarily going after Beskar steel, because like, unless it's something that has to be earned, like you
Yeah.
could probably buy it. He's not going after credits. There's some sort of honor. There's some sort of value.
Because the whole
I-
thing was, he said he was a foundling, so obviously he wasn't like a Mandalorian who already had his own armor.
Right.
That's
Right.
what's being pieced together, so he probably is.
Yeah,
He's
that's
learning.
another.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he's
too.
going
Yeah.
after it, but there's something that he values more than it, because he's not just willing to take any money for it.
And let's not forget too. I think when he's with the armor maker, like they kind of established like he doesn't have like a signet yet, like his house
Yes.
in signet. So I think he's still trying to discover that too, because if like from what we can tell from those flashbacks, that maybe his
Yeah.
parents died. So I think he's trying to determine what house he sits
Right.
in
Yeah.
the Mandalorian court.
I've got a theory. Oh, go
And I was
ahead.
gonna say, can we back up like 30 seconds? Like while he's walking through the den of like the Mandalorians, that was so
Yes, no,
sick.
like
Oh my
I flipped
goodness.
my
The
shit because like I'm
silhouettes of, like, the
yeah, like the rangefinders and all
because
that.
that's what I thought was weird. Was like he doesn't have that yet.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and,
the thing
and I thought
too.
that was
yeah.
really interesting. That when he's
Yeah.
and he does like there was a lot of it was cool to see because I
No
think when we-
jetpack yet either.
Yes, he doesn't have any of that
Yeah.
yet. And
Which is
so
a shame.
when we think of like Boba Fett, and we think of now like Mandalorian and these people, like they're so solitary. So it was
Right.
weird to see them in like this den or what they called their guild. It was his,
Well, there was
They're
the
not,
bounty hunter
though.
guild. I think that's probably
that's
that's
different, I
probably
think.
like the Mandalorian den, if you will, where they all like congregate
Mm-hmm,
and like hang out, and obviously like they have like their armor builder there. So it's probably just strictly for them,
Right.
Like their own secluded hideout, and we still like have no idea what planets they're on.
Yeah.
But like that one at the very end, like a vague, just
Yeah.
like it just obviously like just from a cinematic standpoint, like you could tell they probably filmed there before in previous movies.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe Tatooine, but who knows? We don't really know until
Well, it kind of
later
looked
on.
like a moisture farm.
Yeah,
It really did. Yeah, like one of the old moisture farms that we see, from the classic.
right.
films.
Yeah. A lot of like the
Kind
same
of abandoned
structures
as well. Like, I mean, I don't know. It was a weird, again, being more of like the. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was Tatooine.
Yeah,
Because
that's
just
what I
from
thought
like
too.
at first glance.
Right.
But I feel like
Because I mean, it's not all like Dune Sea. There's very like
Right.
barren mountain landscape.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting too. I mean, if we can even back up a little further, like we completely glanced over Werner Herzog. And,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
How I mean he
I have a theory about who
Oh, please.
the Mandalorian is and what he's
spoilers
after.
by the way.
You
Major
something
spoilers.
that he wants.
In case we didn't put that up top.
Yeah, right up top.
There might be spoilers.
So we're talking about what he wants.
what he's after. So
All right.
he's a foundling.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a signet. So he doesn't know who he is. It sounds like the Beskar steel is something that was taken from the Mandalorians.
Yeah,
and
'cause if-
belongs with
The
them.
Great Purge.
It was the
Yeah.
Great Purge,
Because
yeah.
it did have the Empire
Yeah,
insignia
because
on,
the
on the one
Empire,
that he
like
earned.
when
the
they
down
were
payment.
right when the Empire existed, I know they purged a lot of, or they took a lot of resources from other places in the Empire. They were, they were occupying Mandalore during that time. So and then there was I forgot the house. There was was it Prax or Saxon?
Yeah.
Who was he was like an Imperial sympathizer that was You know,
Saxon and Vizsla.
yeah,
Was it
well,
pre-Vizsla?
yeah, well, there was pre-Vizsla during the Clone Wars, and then there
Right.
was Saxon, who
In
was
Rebels.
in Rebels.
Oh, it was like,
who
this is
was-
all in Rebels.
Yeah,
I've seen
like
Star
they were,
Wars.
they
Yeah, I
were
don't
like
know.
essentially like Mandalorian Imperial super commandos and stuff like they had
Oh,
Mandalorian
interesting.
armor with like Imperial, so like they were like Imperial supporters and stuff like that. So
Okay, but Mel, I feel like you were on the edge of like.
I think that maybe he's working toward getting that steel back to prove himself as Mandalorian, to also help support other foundlings because
Right.
he's got a soft spot for the little orphan
Right.
Mandos.
Yeah.
And
Which ties into the end as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll get to the big
Yeah.
Hold on.
ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please, please.
but he also seems to have, despite the fact that he is essentially hunting people for money, he seems to have a moral compass, which again you see.
That's
in
what
the
I'm
end.
saying.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
he-
because
Every
he
man's
didn't
gotta
value
have a
money
code.
above it.
Yeah.
right, and
So
I think he's
I-
also just trying to make a living too.
I was gonna say like that.
There's so much other stuff going on.
That seems to me like he feels like he owes a debt to maybe the Mandalorians or whoever it is, because like you said, he's a foundling. You get like a very very brief backstory a little bit in like those flashes every time that like steel thing is like making the armor for him. I felt like he feels like he owes a debt and he's kind of just drudging along. And I think like this story where he is now, it kind of like completely propels him out of his day to day. Like, because he was like, okay, what else do you? He's like, I'll just take all of them. Like, it's like he's just going to work another day.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
he's immediately thrust into this entirely different, like epic or this saga that he's now going to
Yeah.
find himself in.
Right.
So I think it's like he's in a rut, if you will, kind of.
So I'm kind of with Mel. I agree that he's after kind of his own identity.
Never agreed on
Trying-
anything.
I know.
He's like trying to discover his own identity, and I think that like there's evidence in the show. I'm such an English major.
Well, my works cited will follow the video.
You didn't push your glasses up. Actually,
Actually,
Well, guys,
no, but there's like little things throughout the show where it kind of shows him like hating technology, where he's like no
The droids.
droids,
Yeah.
no droids, and he's like, ugh, battle droid,
Yeah.
like, or
That's true.
not, bounty droid, is that what they
Yeah,
call it?
yeah.
He's like, oh, no droids, and then here's really interesting to me. There were all of those jobs that they're put on little, what are they called?
Pucks.
Oh,
Pucks.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
he was like,
pucks.
where's the puck?
Yeah.
And then he was like, they were like, here's one with no puck. And he kind of like perked up. Not just, I feel like it was part of the money, but I also felt that it aligned with this sort of anti-tech back to the past kind of idea.
Well,
Because
was
he has a pre-Empire ship. And I feel like all the technology
Mm.
that he appreciates is from the past, all of his armor, everything. And so it's super interesting to see like new and old side by side in this.
I don't
Okay.
disagree, but also if we're talking about him being in a rut, was here's a job with no puck. It's
Yeah.
different. It's new. It's exciting. Like
Yeah.
you have to go meet with this person face to face.
it's like breaking up the monotony of what he's been doing.
Right.
Totally.
Because what did they say? He's just like, here's another bail skipper, another bail skipper.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, here's one.
Rogue
And he's
smuggler.
just like, oh, he's like, I'll just take them all. Like he
Yeah.
seemed so apprehensive to take them. And I don't even know, did he end up taking those, or he just
No.
he didn't take
No,
them, right,
yeah.
at all? No.
Nope.
And so
Yeah, because it wasn't like enough money or something like that.
No, they
Yeah.
didn't. They didn't. It wasn't enough money, and that was literally all that they had.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
for the
Because
for
they're
the guild,
they're
like,
starting
right?
to go toward non-guild bounty hunters because they
Right.
don't charge as much.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
cheaper.
I guess that also
And
brings
that's
me-
where Werner Herzog's character comes in. This Imperial sympathizer. He's got like a Imperial medal around him. So
did,
it's,
yeah.
we don't know. It's like if he's some sort of war hero, but he's got like these
And I don't-
stormtroopers who look like they've been in battle
Yeah,
for
they've
years.
seen some
you know,
stuff,
like,
you know?
Yeah.
So
I like
yeah.
the helmets were ill-fitting.
Yeah, like they're
Yeah.
all kind of like dungy, like they've been
It's
around.
almost
So
like they're not actually stormtroopers.
Exactly.
yeah, that was my kind of like
Ooh, I like that.
they could be scavengers,
I like
like
that.
they could be impersonators, if you will.
Right.
And then this doctor comes in,
Pershing.
Pershing, yes,
Pershing, yes.
So-
because I thought he was super interesting because he felt so out of place.
right?
So to me, what I saw was as like he is this completely out of place. Like I still feel like he works for the Empire, 100%, like no doubt about it.
Oh, okay.
And he came in with an immaculate uniform, like he looks so clean.
Yeah.
He was so out of place there that it would only be fitting and make sense that like his goal or whatever mission was
his
gonna be
agenda
is
is.
completely out of place.
Right.
Like I mean, and that's what I thought was really strange is I think this Pershing guy maybe knows Werner Herzog's character through notoriety, or maybe he's like maybe he abandoned Werner Herzog abandoned his post once he saw the direction of the Empire and it was going down. And Pershing is just like a sympathizer with this guy and just respects him and like respects the chain of command.
Right.
But I just thought how
Or
weird it was that he was there.
Given what we've found out at the end, which we'll get to, does he just see an opportunity for more knowledge about a thing he's interested in and sees Werner Herzog as the means to get it?
Right. And in the first episode, we don't get like a character name or anything for Werner Herzog.
I want to say like he was called like the client or something like that. Like they haven't really established like his
because I think he
actual
just says
name.
meet the
Yeah.
client. Face
Yeah,
to face.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
they
All
call
he
him the
says.
client.
Which is like pretty ominous.
Yeah, so
I like that.
and I'm sure there's an intention behind that
Yeah.
is why they're
Definitely.
kind of hiding his identity, So
And I mean, now I'm thinking back on it, there's not a lot of names given.
no,
Like in general, even to
even the Mandalorian himself,
The
like he's
Mandalorian-
just being called the Mandalorian,
right, because they have names,
Right.
Like they have specific names. Now, are these names that they're given in both? Because you guys are more versed in the lore, is it more like they're given names like these are their birth names, or do they earn their names as well?
I want to say it's part of like their family or their clan.
I mean,
like
their
there's-
surname is the clan name.
Yeah, like Clan Ran or Clan Vizsla,
Like Fett, right?
Clan Saxon. Yeah, well, Fett like that's the
wasn't
thing.
really
Like
a
he
Fett
wasn't
clan.
a true Mandalorian, and
Django was though, right?
yeah,
Was he?
that's the thing though. Like I can't remember so much about Django, but like I know he was kind of a rogue in his own regard, but. Yeah, no, I'd say Django's probably more closer to a Mando than Boba. Well, obviously, because Boba was a clone, but
Right, and then things transpire. I keep wanting to call him Kelsey Grammer. It's not Kelsey Grammer. He's on the
can do it.
he's the Ugnaught.
Nick Nolte. Yes,
Nick
yes.
Nolte's character. Like
The
that was
Ugnaught
probably
doesn't
one of
have
my,
a name.
Doesn't
Does
have a
he?
name yet. No.
Yeah.
Like I actually saw a Funko Pop of him at the mall, and
So
I
he
forgot.
has a
Yeah, he
name.
has a name.
He does, yeah.
I can't
Right.
remember.
Like people do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's one of those. He's a people.
Yeah, it's just he's just. I'm sure they'll mention his
He's an
name
English
later,
major.
later episode.
And
I do words.
I do words.
I do think one of the better scenes, and I don't know if this is gonna be liked or not liked by people who watch the show, but that I liked the scene where he was learning to ride that thing.
Oh yeah,
that little
yeah.
piranha fish-looking thing.
What was it?
I took
something
the
with a
most
B.
notes on that.
Yeah, and-
Blur? Was it like a blur?
A blurg?
Blurg. Yeah,
Oh,
blurg.
blurg.
Yeah, the
Blurg,
blurgs.
yes.
Yeah, it's a blurg, and
Which is a totally appropriate name for that.
Yes,
it's so
creature.
it's like it
It's
looks like what it
a
is.
fish
Yes.
lizard thing.
It looks like what it is.
But they-
Oh, go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. No, go ahead.
Okay, cool. I'll do it. Ready? Okay. So he said, your ancestors rode the great mythosaur.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like sitting there wondering why they would pick the word mythosaur. And I was like, because that's like a pretty on the nose, like, oh, it's a beast
It's a
of great
mythic
myth, right? Like it's a mythic
You're
beast.
familiar with
I was
the
like-
mythosaur skull, right?
No, but I.
He's like, oh,
but I
you're
was
not?
like trying to think about why they would pick that because, like, you know, they could have said anything right there. I didn't know it was
Yeah.
like a Harry. Nope.
Nope.
I didn't know it was a Star Wars thing already. Did it? I did
fandom.
it. Okay.
That's the later.
So it's later. It's just super interesting because Nick Nolte's character, the Ugnaught.
Ugnaught. Yeah.
Okay. Nick Nolte.
there you go.
Ugnaught.
Regular old Nick Nolte said this to Pedro Pascal.
There you go.
and he like connected the Mandalorian to his past in that statement.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the Mandalorian was able to bring the present in relation to like this
Mm-hmm.
ancestry that he wants to connect to. And I just imagined him thinking like, okay, how did they ride the mythosaur? How did they do that? And he had to connect with it emotionally. You know, he calmed down and he was like, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, that's good. Everything's good. And when he calmed down and allowed himself to be like vulnerable in that moment to the animal and to like open up to his own past with this complete stranger around, then he connected with it. And it was so interesting because that's, again, I think the whole thing that he wants to connect with his past. You know, that's my fan theory. But like, I just thought it was beautiful. That moment was my favorite in the entire episode.
See, that reminded me more of in Rebels when Ezra's training and he has to connect with, I don't remember what they are, but some sort of like feline creature.
Oh, the Lothcat?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also
That's what I was gonna say.
I love how he looks so unsure, but he's always so right. He's like, oh, it could be anything, but it's exactly this,
Super
right?
fan.
but he has to calm himself and like connect with the Force
Right. Okay.
to connect to their like life force. And so it just, I'm not saying that the Mandalorian is Force sensitive, but
they definitely
it was
tap
kind
into
of an
something.
interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean,
They
the
definitely
Force, you know, works in mysterious ways. But I mean, at the same time, though, like everyone
Yeah.
who's even not Force sensitive, like it's all connected. So it's just like, it's being able to just naturally like attune to yourself and just,
Right.
you know, stay
On a
calm.
simplistic level, it was
Yeah.
also a nod to the Western.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Taming
true.
the horse.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it was just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that did a really good job of speaking to your point and your point that it's like showing him like learning. Like, yeah, he's really good, but I think he has all of this talent, but it's super raw. You know, like
Yeah.
he's learning to harness everything, but he's not quite there yet. Like he's still learning. Yeah, I mean, he's still learning how to be a Mandalorian.
It also humanizes him a
Right.
little. Like he's not perfect. He has flaws. He's not good at everything
Yeah.
right off the bat.
And he
'Cause
even gets frustrated. It's like, do you just have like a racer?
Yeah, yeah,
something,
like a
anything
speeder
else,
or a
like
speeder
anything
bike.
else?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was super important, I think, to show that. It's like, okay, this guy's not perfect. And then we kind of see the Nick Nolte himself, the Ugnaught. I thought it was, then they're actually on the blurbs and they're showing like why it's imperative that they go there. And I think because they needed to be quiet. So like those things
Yeah.
are relatively quiet, and the direction he was taking him was like
yeah.
overlooking this like moisture farm type place or abandoned
Hideout,
outpost or
yeah,
whatever
hideout.
it was.
Can we pause right here because he says something that's like said a bunch of times in the show. It's like something that's imposed onto the Mandalorian, and I thought it was
yeah.
super interesting. He always like constantly everyone's saying, "You'll make quick work of it," and it was
Yeah.
like really weird to me to like hear it from like just in different places in the entire galaxy. They're like, "Oh, you're a Mandalorian. You'll make quick work of it."
Yeah.
you know, and it was like forcing this role onto him, and it was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you have a reputation, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they do. I mean, you in different eras of Star Wars fans, like I know the Mandalorian from a certain aspect, and I've always associated them with being bad because I think of again,
Yeah.
my only experience with it is like
They're
Boba Fett.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
So-
they're like the anti-heroes, you
Exactly.
know, like
Right.
I mean, the neutral squad, if you will,
Right.
of the Star Wars universe.
Well, they're bounty hunters. you
Well,
know?
yeah.
Not all of them.
Yeah,
No,
well,
just
yeah.
the ones that we've seen. Because remember, we're not
That's
like,
true.
yeah, we're kind of new to it.
Yeah, but so that I think leads us to what is probably one of the
man.
cooler scenes is like when we finally, he sneaks up. It looks like he's scouting. He's getting ready to, do his job.
Oh, yeah.
preparing.
And then
yeah.
out of nowhere,
It-
you hear
the-
Battle droid.
that-
here comes IG.
Well,
the
it
IG
was funny,
unit.
like right before that though, when he's like looking over, and then he has to pull out like this little telescope thing, and I'm thinking, but that's another thing too, because like he doesn't have his rangefinder. I was like,
Oh,
if only
yeah.
you had your rangefinder, dude. But he's
That's
like looking at
right,
this thing.
yeah.
So
I
I
didn't even-
thought that was kind of a nice thing that like he's obviously working on his armor.
Yeah.
So and I'm thinking like any other Mandalorian would just flip down the rangefinder and zoom in,
And then they're
so.
fine. They know.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was really interesting. Like this is my first experience with like an IG unit. I know there's been an IG-88. right?
Yeah, who
And-
was like seen for like a couple seconds.
A second,
in,
right? And
in
then so
Empire
this is
Strikes Back.
actually, and they are bounty hunter droids, which has got to be
Yeah,
so
they're like assassin droids.
Oh, okay.
They were all like manufactured and programmed to like kill.
Just
and
to
stuff
kill,
like,
right?
Yeah, like
And he's like reading the rights of like everyone there.
yeah,
as
like he's like
getting
programmed-
shot at.
yeah.
You know, like that was so
good.
great.
Well,
so
and I like because like Taika Waititi voiced him, and I think there was even like a video of like talking about getting like the right voice for him, and I was picking up on his voice, and it sounded a lot like Jango Fett's voice, or Tamara Morrison, who played Jango Fett. So it's, you know, because he had that same sort of accent. So I thought that, you know, it probably wasn't intentional, but I thought that was
Right.
That's just
he
where your
had like
brain
a
went,
nice
yeah.
like almost like with all of like the electronic gargle that IG-88 had, you know, was a nice touch to it. So it definitely
right.
added this kind of like sinister touch to it.
It was really cool. I like the way that he portrayed the character, and I loved the initiating self-destruct. Like just constantly.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
like, I'm done. Dunzos.
Yeah,
I'm out of
it's
here.
like I
Yeah,
can't
his
be
like his chest opens up.
Yeah.
and just a
almost like a little
detonator
thermal
of the-
detonator
So
explosive.
what I was saying, we were talking a little bit earlier about the show, of course, because how could you not? And then I was really hoping he would take the thermal detonator out and toss it.
Oh,
That's what I
okay,
thought
yeah.
he was gonna do.
Yeah, I expected that. And
That's
I love
what I
that they
really- what I
didn't
was
play into
hoping.
that.
He
But
would
what
do.
happened was so much cooler.
Exactly.
What
Like
happened
I'm
was so
so
much
happy
cooler.
that they didn't play into that.
Yeah, I mean, and then that whole again, that was like a pretty sophisticated piece of technology for that area, is what I thought. Like again, that like turret that guy brings, that seemed like brand new.
Yeah,
It seems
like,
so again so out of place for it to be there, almost like someone knew that the big reveal was there, and they had these people protecting it
yeah.
until
Well, there
maybe
were-
someone
And
showed
that was
up.
the final boss.
Yeah, and that was the final boss.
the final
yes.
boss.
So chaos ensues, and,
You know, and-
it's awesome. I mean, that's kind of, we're not going to talk about every awesome kill that happened. I mean,
Yeah, so
they're
first
dead.
there's
We
like
can say
a
they're
pew,
dead, right?
and then second there's like a pew pew. It's a
Yeah.
crazy, yeah.
Lots of pew pews.
The moment with IG-11 was probably my favorite part of that episode. Just
Yeah.
when he's like walking through, and you know he's doing all these crazy twists and turns with his
just
robot body,
walking.
you know,
Yeah.
walking
His
and,
eyes,
you
the way
know,
his
and then
eyes
he's like
moved were
shooting
super
up, like
cool.
walking forward. Guys are like falling down, and
yeah, it was.
Well, that one was super fun because the Mandalorian shouts out above you, and he just and the
Yeah.
guy falls behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
then,
super cool.
You know, going back on what you were saying, Mel, that they have this like this this type of like reputation. He even before, he walks in and he, kills all these people that are like security guards or whoever they are. I'm sure
mercenaries
like
of some kind.
they're
yeah,
definitely
like-
hired, right?
Yeah, hired
You know?
to protect
the worst
the
security
asset,
guards. Yes,
if you will.
And he's talking. The IG-11 unit is talking to him, and he says something to the tune of like, "I recognize your namesake or your notoriety," and so he says, "Permission granted." He's like, "Can you come over here and like work with me?"
Yeah.
And he says like, "I'm a Mandalorian. I'm in the guild."
Right.
Or he says something like that, and he pulls out the fob.
Yeah.
Right. And then
yeah.
he's kind of like his guns down.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting. It's like it finally worked. The reputation worked to his advantage for once.
Yeah,
like
and
in
like
that scene.
droid loyalties and
Yeah.
what's that?
Well,
Being in the
It's-
guild were probably
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's there in like an official capacity theoretically, and so
And he even offered to like split the bounty like 50-50. And so obviously he was acceptable with that to an extent because he was part of the guild. So I think that kind of suggested to me that he was part of like, obviously because like they have the code. So, and I'm
there's
sure
a level
he's-
of trust.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So
Let's do it.
they're on the turret.
Yeah.
They shoot the
door down.
the door down.
Yeah. No, I do like that one, how they're looking at the door like, oh, how are we going to get in? And then they just like look over
Yeah.
the cat. I thought
Classic.
that
It was
was nice.
classic.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah.
It felt a little bit like Star Wars is, at least the live action stuff, has been pretty serious. Solo went kind of goofy, like Thor Ragnarok style, and this had some moments of like camp and goofiness. Like,
Yeah.
like that
Oh
scene
yeah,
in
like
particular.
his first bounty like picks him up, like he's all like all social with him and all talking. Well, I'm not sure if you picked up, but where like the I don't know what his species was, like the blue fish guy or whatever. He's talking about how like he mentioned Life Day, and that was from the holiday special. So I thought that was like a nice nod, you know, like
That's
so that was
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah, isn't that's the one that was like never released or something? Or
Well,
it was
I
like-
think they aired it a couple times back in the day, but yeah,
That's a
it's-
very deep
yeah,
cut.
and the fact that like
a
Life
deep
Day is the Christmas equivalent of in the Star Wars universe, so it was a nice nod to having them establishing that sort of holiday in that
Right.
in that realm.
So we're in the room. And then they say he uses the fob, right, to detect like, well, there is something. And then even the IG-11 unit still says, I've done like my area scan or whatever it was, and there is a life unit
Form.
in here, life form in here. And then the Mandalorian looks over, and it's like this orb. It's like a floating kind of orb, very like, even in your notes, yes, we will mention it, kind of very like Superman-esque when he comes to, when he comes to Earth in that.
I totally saw a crib. Like
Huh.
it
You
did.
saw a crib from the
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really, I see. I didn't notice it at all. I think because I was just too excited.
Although, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I heard rumors about this sort of situation and like the type of character.
right.
That's cheating. You're not allowed to do that.
I mean, and then I'm thinking it was like, and as I'm watching this unfold, I'm like, oh my god, this is actually is this actually going to happen?
We
You
have
know?
built up so much suspense. Can
Yeah.
you say what happened?
So we're still in the room. They open up the crib, and it's a baby. Oh, do we know yet?
No.
It's a. I mean, it's a baby Yoda.
Whatever species
It's baby
of
Yoda.
Yoda
It's
is,
baby Yoda.
which they haven't established
Right.
properly, like because Yoda was apparently the last of his kind.
That's
He's
what was so
supposed to be.
and
crazy
the
about it.
Mandalorian knew that the target was 50 years old.
Right.
And then he opens up this crib and sees this quote unquote baby Yoda.
Right.
Little tiny baby
Little
Yoda.
right. So
Yes.
right, who's 50 years old, but in like
Which
Yoda
is
years, that's
ugh,
like
if I could just get my
that's-
skincare routine to like look that good, like it's
Yeah. You know what? But and I thought what was really interesting is the immediate like that's insane, and then
so
you're
many
right
questions
back to
pop up.
reality that like it was determined that in the contract they was supposed to come back dead.
in
Right?
IG-11's
The
contract.
I'm sorry, the IG-11.
Well,
IG's
it was
Pick up on it. They get hired by the same person, or are there multiple people with different contracts
Right.
for this thing?
No, I think there are multiple
That's-
contracts, multiple
Yeah.
people.
right. Yeah, that's what I think. That like obviously like going back to Werner Herzog's character, the client, and then the Dr. Pershing.
Right.
I think they
yeah.
want him for whatever reason, because like let's say if this baby is force sensitive,
Right.
they may want to take it and
and
Sect.
yeah,
yeah,
and on that point, we even see like in the actual dialogue, way back when the Mandalorian gets the contract and he meets the client, there is a very uneasy relationship between Werner Herzog and the Pershing.
Yeah.
Because when they're talking about it, he's like dead or alive,
Yep.
and then Pershing says that's not
like
what we
no,
agreed on.
that's not what I want. Yeah.
And then-
What I'm saying is it could be a contract from the same guy, though.
Same guy who
He has
Oh,
his,
okay,
he
yeah.
has his own agenda.
yeah
And he's playing both sides of the same coin, basically. But there could be multiple contracts.
Yeah.
right so
Like,
Was
how many people know about Baby Yoda?
was Werner Herzog? Was he hiring the Mandalorian through the guild, or was it like a back alley hire?
It
'Cause
sounded like through the guild.
I
What
felt
was
more
Carl
back
Weathers'
alley.
character
I-
again? I forgot his name because
There's no puck or anything. It's nothing.
That's the thing.
right.
Yeah,
it
it's all
seems
word of
yeah.
mouth.
It does seem kind of.
I don't think it was a guild thing.
it felt kind of
kind of
back
like under the
alley.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the character, and again, I don't know if we got a name from, but who was originally when
Carl
the Mandalorian
Weathers?
brings who is it?
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers.
Right. I can't.
Carl Weathers.
Like they mentioned his character's name in the.
They did.
Yeah. But I do feel though
Who
that like
is?
obviously the Empire is still behind this
Yeah.
because like if this baby is force sensitive, and so
Yeah.
either that like the Grand Moffs at the time, they may, if they find out that this baby is still alive, they may consider that as a threat. Like it's like oh this could be a former member of the Jedi Order. They may want it exterminated.
So can we relate this to like the big quote that the client said? This was me trying to quote with a pen in my hand. The client.
Doing great,
Yeah.
bud.
Okay. So the thing that the Mandalorian left on, this big statement. It is good to restore the natural order of things after a period of disarray. Don't you agree? And it was like super creepy and super harrowing, and
it
so,
like makes him stop. Like he
it does make
stops,
him
like kind
stop.
of looks over his shoulder, and then he doesn't say anything, and he walks.
Because that natural order is a different thing to different people, and like hearing the term natural order in a world where the first order is also a thing, like that's a super interesting parallel to me. But
the
then
first order doesn't exist.
I understand that.
But it
I know
could be
that.
the birth of it.
Right, because
Right, so-
this series is supposed to talk about all of how the First Order came to be.
Right, and so I heard natural order and I thought first order, but then also when we saw baby Yoda, I guess, I was wondering, what does this creature have to do with natural order? And is that like a question of like the natural order of the Force, you know, because the Force is all about balance between light side and dark side, or this the client who thinks that natural order is more like this baby can be dead and that natural order is still maintained, and why does that enforce that order? So like I just have huge questions about what it means to each character.
Obviously, the Mandalorian wouldn't be thinking any of that.
Of course
So
not.
All that the Mandalorian's thinking at that moment is, oh, he's going to get his steel back.
Right.
Their Mandalorians are going to get their steel back, and that's the natural balance.
Right.
Well, and that's
Because that's the
Now
way
he
that
sees
things
the baby,
were.
And there's like a much bigger meaning to that phrase.
And so that's where the balance is between this natural order of like the natural order of the past, which is what he had, you know, what he thinks he wants right now, and the natural order of the future, which is, you know, this next generation of this Yoda baby, like what the balance is with the, anyways, yeah. Okay.
So I saw it as, to talk on that point was, I wonder, A, if this Mandalorian person knows of Yoda, right? And knows the significance of the similarities between who is not supposed to exist.
He could be just connecting on a foundling level.
yeah.
that's the way that I
That
found
was
it.
kind of my take on it
Okay,
too.
that makes
Foundling
sense,
level
yeah.
Right,
connection.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like if this baby's an orphan, and then he's kind of an orphan too,
Yeah.
so he may want to have that, you know.
Give it the shot that he was given.
Yeah.
he's also like, as we discussed previously, he's got a moral code, and that baby has no defense
Yeah.
against him. So to take out a blaster and eliminate the asset, like it's not a fair fight. And
Yeah.
other people he's picking up who also may be at a, or are at a disadvantage, and it's still not a fair fight. Those people did wrong. Like
Right.
they deserve to pay for their crimes. Like this baby probably hasn't.
Right, and to speak to exactly what you're talking about on the moral compass, it's shown the most when you see a red flash, you hear a blaster, and you think that the IG-11 unit has killed the asset, the baby
Right.
Yoda.
But
and
it's
you-
actually
and
the
you see the
Mandalorian.
IG-11 just crash with a
Right.
big old hole in his head, and then the series ends. The first episode ends.
The series
Yeah,
ends.
no, they.
Yeah.
They,
Oh,
like-
Yeah,
yeah.
the-
They had their whole ET moment.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah,
Is it
that.
E.T. or is it God and David?
Right.
Because there's a little
Yeah.
bit of that.
Oh yeah,
There is
I
a
mean,
little bit of
there's
that.
a
Yeah.
ton.
I was just thinking when you hold your finger to a baby and it grabs it with its tiny little finger. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only true
That's just what
defense
you
mechanism. Its only true defense system is how freaking cute it is. 'Cause
That's
it's
true.
Really
Yes.
cute.
That's why babies are so cute biologically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, this episode was fantastic. I mean, it just to me,
Oh, yeah.
the only downfall was that it made me ask more questions. I was just like, well, what is this? Why don't I have the answers now? Why?
That's not a downfall. That's
To me-
awesome.
Well,
I have
yeah.
so
Unless,
many
it's
questions.
unless
sure.
it is the end of the series, in which case this has been
Yeah.
an awful
Yeah,
experience.
and it's
We've
just getting,
opened up
it's
so
just
much
getting
and I
started.
hate it.
You know,
Yeah,
there's-
like-
Tell you guys that Disney canceled it.
Yeah. they're like,
Any of the
by
other
the way,
episodes.
No more
yeah.
episodes this Friday or any other Wednesday.
Oh,
That's
jeez.
it. Like,
Right, because so the next episode is Friday.
yeah.
So that I thought that was really brilliant what they're doing because I think they're going to be an hour. I believe so.
This one
45
was
minutes.
like 40,
It was 40 minutes.
42 minutes.
I think they-
So the other ones could be longer.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
TV hour.
Yeah, usually
TV
TV
hour,
hour
yeah.
because it's like, you know, they allow for like commercials and stuff.
I mean, about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really sorry. I think it was just the the tone of the show and everything was one. I was telling you all before the show that it made me excited for Star Wars again. Not that the excitement ever went away, but it was just kind of like, oh man, I just can't wait to like dive back into Star Wars. And now I've never seen Rebels, I've never seen Clone Wars.
You got to
So
get
now-
on that.
So now
doing
because
it
like there's a
wrong.
lot more Mandalorian.
Yeah, you guys
lore
had a
there
lot of
that's,
stuff
like-
today that I was just
Yeah.
like, that's not on the script.
And you know, for our listeners and viewers, like I thought it was cool how Jon Favreau voiced Pre Vizsla in the Clone Wars series, and how he's the creator of this series with
Right.
Dave Filoni. So I thought that was a nice nod.
So here's a question for you two, and specifically not you.
Oh, thanks, man.
So don't answer.
Yeah, say nothing.
Stop talking.
The dark saber, is that what it's called? Dark saber.
Yeah, Darksaber.
Do you think we're gonna see it?
I don't want to see it because it's really painful for me.
Oh, okay.
I mean-
I don't know what happened with it. I
That,
don't know
that
the
would
story.
be like that would be cool.
I know that there's a dark
I-
saber out there, and I want to see it.
Do you?
I don't know. Like it's that's a good question. Like it'd be,
I don't know that it would really tie in, like based on its history, what we've seen of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would tie into what's happening here, but we also
Right.
have no idea what the next. How many episodes is it?
I believe it's 8.
8.
yeah.
What the next 7 episodes are going to bring, but
They
It would
they
be
might
fun.
not, just because I think they want to focus more on that time period because they've
Yeah.
already explained it in the Clone Wars
Right.
series.
Yeah.
Because it's such an ancient weapon from, it's like the
Well,
Clan
and it comes
Vizsla,
back
who
and-
was like the Force-sensitive Mandalorian, who was the first Mandalorian to be part of the Jedi Order, and he made that Darksaber, and then
you see
I
it in
rem-
Rebels too.
yeah, you see in Rebels too. So
Agreed.
They
Yeah, that's what I was
that's why
gonna
you
say.
guys got to watch it. They explain so much there.
Really, like Clone Wars and the movies are fantastic. I like the Star Wars movies, but Clone Wars and Rebels is really like, if I want to go back and do Star Wars again, that's where I'm gonna go.
Well, it seems like me and you have homework, Andrew.
No, because I'm just gonna keep watching The Mandalorian. Because
Wonderful.
when
Well, it seems like I have
in
homework.
between the Mandalorian,
I thought I
you
could speak to
watch
the
Clone
English
Wars.
major by giving him homework, but apparently it didn't work.
He's just going to be taking notes while he was watching.
on my notes.
That's the purest way to enjoy.
That's fun. Yeah, because I think that The Mandalorian will speak for itself because
And it
based on
has.
its opening, that's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean this show. I love the way that it's like. We were talking a little earlier, and I love how grounded it is. Like I love like the
'cause
Jedi,
it doesn't have a jetpack.
and I love.
Get out. Get out.
Andrew has
He's
lost
going to get his
the right
jetpack,
to
so
speak.
he
just
will
cuts
not be
in, this is
grounded
a different,
anymore
totally different
after that.
person. Hello, my name's Andrew.
Does anyone have a trapdoor around here?
There you go.
Okay.
Yes.
You were saying.
I just love how grounded the show is. Like I've always liked, the Jedi, and I've always loved the Sith, but I've always wanted to know like what's going on everywhere else and what's going on in
Like,
the
what
world.
are the normal
Yeah.
people doing?
The non-force
Yeah.
users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does a Star Wars desk job look like? Like are there people that work at like the Star Wars version of like PetSmart, and they're just like, this is crazy. What's going on
you
out
need
there?
some kibble
We did
for
see
your
that food
blurg.
market.
For your blurg.
For your,
We did see that food market. There's some pretty funny scenes.
oh, like
Yeah.
the
I have no idea what they're called.
Kavarkian monkey lizard. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's like being like fried and like it's
other one's like-
the
the
other
other
one's
one's
like
watching.
freaking out and like terror. I felt sorry for that thing.
But I think it's safe to say
Couldn't help but laugh.
we're all
We'll
pretty
see
stoked.
Yeah, we
I
shouldn't
think everyone
laugh.
in this room is pretty stoked for
Yeah.
the next episode. Again, which streams Friday. Go get Disney Plus so we can all watch and talk about it together.
I'm excited to see more Mandalorian. I do think IG-11's gonna be back like immediately.
Oh yeah, I have
hope
a
so.
feeling
Immediately.
he's gonna like reprogram him and
Yeah.
make him his companion. Yeah, because like
Oh, it's gonna be 12.
IG-12.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works. I believe it's C4PO and then C5PO. Like each one they upgrade. They-
And then they just
how it
restart.
works.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Let us know your personal theories, what you thought of the first episode of The Mandalorian. We'll see you next time where we hopefully can talk about episode 2. And as always, don't forget to let your Geek Side show.
We have spoken.
Bye.
Spoken.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, did you like that video? Be sure to subscribe by clicking the S icon on your screen and click that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more info on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under Product Info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.